All right, everybody, hello, and welcome back to another video. What do you know? We're getting close to Season 14, which of course means we have our little preview for our next hero, and that is the tank hero, Hazard. There you can see him in all of his Scottish shirtless glory with his big giant chin. Quick look at his abilities. You want to see them here. I'll show you them, of course, in person, but you can see he has his primary fire, Bone Spur, which fires a burst of spikes. You'll see all this stuff as we go through this. His ultimate Downpour, where he rains down a torrent of spikes, immobilizing enemies. His Spike Guard right-click ability, where you can protect yourself from frontal damage, firing homing spikes at nearby enemies and regenerating ammo. His Violent Leap, lunges forward, activate again to slash at enemies, knocking them back. Jagged Wall ability, you can launch a spiked wall that damages and knocks back nearby enemies. He's got a Vault passive ability where you can scale short walls and grab ledges. And then, of course, as a tank, he has all the tank passive stuff.
If you're in it with me, you're in it for life.
So, here we go. Let's take a look at those abilities in action. So, his left click, the Bone Spur. You can see it there. It's like a shotgun type weapon. It does hold, so if you like hold down left click, it'll continue to fire. You don't have to keep touching it. Most heroes, I think, that have abilities like this, that is how they work. But not all of them. But with him, you can hold it down and it will shoot. Pretty simple, pretty basic shotgun type weapon there. His right click is a very interesting ability. So as I mentioned with Spike Guard, you do protect yourself. And you take reduced damage. So you can see here, we'll just take some damage. So, two groups of shots get us down to 468. Grab this real quick. And we'll right click. And as you can see, take less damage. There. I couldn't hold it for the whole thing, but the other thing this does is, obviously it restores ammo, as we know as well, so go in. But also, if you use it and you hold it in your enemies, they will also take damage with these homing shots, which are pretty good, all things considered. It's a nice way to kind of ensure damage while you are trying to protect yourself and your allies, you know. It's one of those criticisms of Reinhardt, for example, when you're playing Rein and you have your shield up, you can't do damage, or when you're blocking with Ram, you can't do damage. Well, Hazard, he can do damage while his thing is up, as long as the enemies are within his range. They have to be right in front of him, so you can't use it like, from afar. But, you know, it's useful. It'll just do damage, which is nice for him. His shift ability is Violent Leap. Like I said, you can lunge forward and then activate it again to slash enemies. It will knock them back when he's done. You can also, with his leap ability, use it to get up walls like that. So it doesn't have the most verticality, but because of his ability to grab onto ledges, you can get around maps somewhat effectively. It's not terrible, obviously. Like, you can do that without having to even worry about it. But like something like this, you're going to have to try to hold it and hope you get up. It's not always going to be the case. And with the knockback, you can see it's decent knockback there on that ability. Then his E is, of course, the Jagged Wall. You can shoot it in a lot of different ways. You can shoot it against the wall, and it'll bounce like that. You can just press E to clear it. You can also shoot it down like on the ground and knock people back that way. When I get it back... Oh, didn't actually knock him back. Well, you're lucky. You can also use it kind of as a barrier in the same way you would use like a Mei wall to protect yourself from incoming damage. You can just put it down and protect your allies while they get healing. And also use it to kind of cut some lines of sight. So you can kind of use it to force your enemies into certain areas that they don't want to be, or you know, whatever. Separate teammates from each other on the enemy team. However you want to use it, you can use it. That's how it functions. You know, think of it like a Mei wall in that way. Not as big as a Mei wall, obviously. It has some more utility that it can knock people back, but kind of similar to a Maywall. And then, of course, there is his downpour, his ultimate ability, which I will use on these poor little folks. As you can see, they get hit, they can't move when they're caught in it. It doesn't last a super long time. It's pretty short from what I've seen with it. It's not a super long ability to have activated, but it's nice just to get people stuck in place. It's good, I think, especially for stopping, you know, like a rush comp or something that's coming in towards you. Just being able to press Q while they're trying to push in, or while they're trying to escape. When you're chasing kills and the enemies are trying to get out, you know, they're trying to, you know, you've killed one, or you've used an ult, you don't want them to get out, and all of a sudden you're like, actually, I think maybe you and your allies shouldn't be able to leave, and we're gonna eliminate you that way, just to keep you from ending our contest or whatever it is that you're doing. There's a lot of ways you can kind of use it. There's a lot of utility I think it has. It's a pretty decent ultimate. Like I said, it doesn't last a long time. It's not like a male where they're frozen for long periods of time or anything like that. But it is definitely long enough that you can, you know, get a couple of picks or something. If you have like a Junkrat ult or something like that up, where you can force people to not be able to move for a brief period of time. So it is an interesting ability. It's an interesting collection of abilities. There's a lot of interesting ways, I think, to get them to work together and to make a really interesting dynamic for this hero's kit, along with the other kind of heroes in the game, right? Like, you want to get people stuck so you can utilize different ultimate abilities, or you want to use the wall to knock snipers off of high ground, or to block off LOS to you know, keep the enemy tank from regrouping with their team. Whatever kind of use there is, there's definitely a number of interesting use cases for Hazard's abilities that I think are going to be interesting to kind of see in action. So why don't we jump into the gameplay, and we can talk about the hero, talk about my thoughts after playing a few games, getting to learn the ropes with Hazard, and really kind of digging my own teeth into the hero so that I can have a bit more of an informed opinion on how he actually plays in actual gameplay scenarios. Alright, so after playing a couple games as our Hazard, our new hero, I think he's an interesting hero. This game you're watching is the third game I played as him, which was, I think, the best game. I won 2 and I lost the first game I played. He's very interesting. I think it's hard to find right now. It's hard to find the heroes that I would compare him to the most. I think he feels the most like a hybrid between like Roadhog and Doomfist, which is a weird one to say, but he has kind of that punishing potential, you know, kind of solo out targets kind of thing that both of those heroes have. His weaponry feels a little more hog-like. His leap feels obviously kind of like Doomfist, but he doesn't really feel like he feels... He definitely is not... I don't get the sense he's a dive tank. Having played him, I don't know yet where he sits. But he's an interesting hero. I think he'll be one that's fun to play. I definitely like felt myself as I played him, learning how his abilities interact with each other. Like, this is so stupid to say. This is such a basic thing to understand. And, like, obviously this is the way the hero works. But using your shift and right-clicking while you're going in so that you're taking damage while you're going into the fight, huge, right? Like, it allows you to, you know, use your, you know, when you're going in just to get positioning and to gain space, and being able to just block and get damage in with the right-click and tank damage is huge. I feel like his right-click is insane. It is an absurd ability because you're tanking damage and it just automatically hurts people who are too close. That ability feels very Ram-like. I think that's kind of like a Ram block is really the most similar ability in the game with that, or like Doom's power block. There's some similarities there, but obviously they feel similar in that kind of way. But he's an interesting hero. I will say one thing that I found very interesting, his E ability, the wall. If you shoot it somewhere and it misses, it does not have a range where it will automatically like detonate a wall. So if you shoot and you miss and it ends up in the sky, it will just keep going until it hits the skybox, and then it will just destroy. So that's one of those things. Be careful when you're playing Hazard and using your E. Don't miss, because you might end up shooting it way too far. And I think you can cancel it mid-shot. I'm not 100% positive. It seemed a little difficult. It's definitely an ability that will take time to master. I think understanding the angles where you want to shoot it to knock people off, when you want to bounce people up, when you want to use it. I tend to like using it from what I've found so far. I think it works best as like a barrier, like a wall to protect yourself. Obviously, I think it is nice to be able to use it to knock people off high ground. It will be funny to like use it to knock people off maps and get environmental kills with it. I think his better boop ability would just be using the leap and the double hitting shift when you get close to somebody. That feels like a better offensive skill for that in particular. Obviously, there's the risk of jumping in too far, but the way the wall works when you use it, it feels a little too, you don't have, you have control over the way that it goes, kind of, but how it interacts with people is not necessarily always 100%. I struggled to get it where I needed it to sometimes, and obviously some of that falls on learning how to place it properly, how to get it where you want it, but I found that it functions best as a way to, similarly to the way you use a Mei wall, right? To block enemies off from the rest of their team, and also to use it to, shield yourself from incoming damage. That feels like the best way to use the wall. But it has the added benefit in the way that the Mei wall doesn't, that if you use it to block off a teammate from the, an enemy from their team, it can bounce them towards you as well. So not only do you block them from their team, you essentially keep them further from their team if you get them to bounce back in your direction, which can be useful. It's an interesting kit. I don't know where I think he's going to fit, what types of compositions. He feels brawly if I had to put a comp type on him. I think the way that he interacts, like I said, there's like some Ram, some Doomfist in there, some Hog in there. So I think he's probably a brawl hero. His leap does not give him enough verticality and movement for me to think he's going to be a dive hero. He doesn't have like a lot of speed to him. So that would be my best guess for where he sits. But he's fun. He's an interesting hero. I'm definitely excited to play more of him, get more time in with him, and kind of see where his interactions are, the types of heroes he works best with. And I'm curious to see where he goes. Because, like I said, I don't know exactly where to put him, but I'm someone who plays a lot of Junker Queen, plays a lot of Doomfist. Those are kind of two of the tanks I play the most. And so I definitely can feel where those kinds of influences could come in. But I think it'll be interesting to see where he finds his niche in the meta. I don't get the sense he feels super strong. It's always harder when a hero first comes out because you never really know. Usually takes a little bit, but I'm curious to see where he's going to end up, and I'm curious to hear all of you who have had a chance to sit down and play with him. If you have, let me know your thoughts. If you haven't, let me know your initial thoughts from watching this or watching other creators play the hero. I think he's a very interesting hero. He's in a very interesting place. I'm curious to kind of see where things go from here with Hazard, but I want to hear from you in the comments down below, your thoughts on the hero. The good, the bad, whatever it may be, let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video and want more like it in the future, consider liking and subscribing. Your support does help out a lot with the channel. That's going to be all for me for today. Thank you all once again. Hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. And until next time, bye-bye.